So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final webinar for New Hampshire Gives of 2022. My name is Deborah Clark. I'm the New Hampshire Gives project lead here at the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. It is scary for me to think that we have just about 48 days until New Hampshire Gives begins. We have about 420 nonprofits registered, so we're hoping to get a few more nonprofits on board. One of the new prizes that you may have heard about is the Training Titan Prize, which will be a $1,000 cash prize randomly drawn from all organizations which have a representative at one of these 4 webinars. So by being here today, your organization is entered into this drawing. Please help me out with accurate attendance by making sure that your name displays as the name you registered with for this event so that I can make sure that your organization gets credit for you being here. I don't have a lot of fun when I have to guess who Jennifer is because there's a lot of them. So that would really help me out. And that prize is made possible by our Training Titan sponsor, People's United Bank. People's has been our Training Titan sponsor since 2018, and their support helps us to bring these trainings and webinars to you. And Kathy Sherling, the VP, Marketing and Communication Services Director at People's United Bank, is with us today to say hello. Kathy. Kathy, you're on mute.
Sorry, everyone. You can see my mouth moving, but no words. Thank you, Deborah, for having us here, and congratulations for all of the sessions that you've had to date. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and I wish you luck in your fundraising efforts. We have the easy role of writing a check. We have many employees who volunteer with a lot of your organizations, but you guys have the hard role, and thank you for everything that you are doing for our community. We appreciate all of our nonprofits out there. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you, Kathy. So get the cat out of my way and start sharing my screen. All right. Everybody sees my screen? Okay. So you are at Advanced Strategies Peer-to-Peer Fundraising. I am not going to go into all the details about the bonus pool again. If you want to see me talk about it, you can watch the webinar from last week. And the link is here. It's just on the trainings page. And you can go there. There's also an FAQ section on the FAQ page. And if people have specific questions at the end, we can definitely answer some questions to the best of our ability. Other things that are going on, we have coffee hours on May 4th and May 18th. A coffee hour it's just like this, only it's a little bit less structured. We have a special guest who comes in and talks for 15 or 20 minutes. And then we open it up for more questions and more informal tips and tricks and people sharing what they've done in the past. We do have Julie Sullivan from CauseVid will be joining us at the first one to talk about CauseVid and the free accounts that you guys all get access to as a part of New Hampshire Gives. And we have Catherine Crooker from Crooker Consulting talking to us at the last one about stewardship. And we're putting an emphasis on that because probably the number one negative feedback that we get from donors to New Hampshire Gives is that they never hear from the organizations that they donated to. So we want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of stewardship and has some great tools in their toolbox to do that. So a couple more prizes. Membership Matters will be a random drawing from all organizations that are participating that are members of the center. And that will be a $1,000 prize. We also have a board support prize, 100% board support. So if all of your board members donate at least $20, there's a form that you'll be able to submit showing that they've donated, and all of the organizations that are verified for that will be entered to win $1,000. That prize will obviously be awarded after the giving day is over. And new this year, we have some consulting services as prizes. So we have some companies that have generously offered up pro bono services to one lucky winner. So we have a video production prize where you'll get the benefit of professional video production for a 90-second spot for your organization. We have a wealth screening prize where the consultant will do a screening of a specific number of your donors and then review the results with you. And then we have a supporter engagement consultation with a consultant who will go over sort of a plan of engaging your supporters and even measuring that engagement. So that's kind of a neat one. We will be having the live stream again this year, hosted by Greg Kretschmar and Scott Spradling. That will be from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. on June 7th and 3 to 5 p.m. on June 8th. Last week I told you guys that we had donated billboard space in Manchester on Elm Street, but we didn't have a picture yet. So I just wanted to share this picture with you. Circle Signworks has generously allowed us to have this space from now through the end of New Hampshire Gives. So there will be something up there. It'll change probably in a few weeks. It'll change to something else. And on the day of, it'll be something like Give Now, really specific. So before I hand you over to our wonderful panelists, I just wanted to get some basics in there. Just the definition. What is a peer-to-peer fundraiser? Why are we here talking about it? A peer-to-peer fundraiser is a supporter who is passionate about your cause and reaches out to their own network to say, I would like you to give to this organization that I care about. It's a great way to get new donors. It's a great way for people who have never heard about you to learn about you. And each of these fundraisers creates their own page, which they can send a direct link to. All of the money raised on that page, if they're raising funds for you, goes directly into your fundraiser, so it shows up in your totals. But you'll also be able to see that, John Doe raised X amount for your organization, and Jane raised this much, so you'll be able to kind of thank them personally, or maybe you could even have a prize for the peer-to-peer fundraiser who raises the most or has the most donors. There's all kinds of things that you can do with it. But basically, it's a way for you to be more successful in New Hampshire Gives using the supporters that you already have. I have one technical note. Can you see the fundraisers page now? Okay. So this is now live on New Hampshire Gives. It's in the menu. If you hover over the, click on the menu, you can see fundraisers. And so these are all the fundraisers that have already signed up. And the note that I want to give you is that a lot of people are putting in New Hampshire Gives 2022 as their campaign name, which means that we have a bunch of them that are just New Hampshire Gives 2022 as a fundraiser for. This one is what it's designed for. It is if you are using this fundraising page for a group of people, or you want to give it a special name. So you want to say it's, Fanny's fundraising page. You can give it a name other than your own name. If you don't enter anything into the campaign field, it'll just show up as your name, like Barbara over here. So she didn't enter anything into the campaign field. But White Birch Center did this. They're having their board of directors all use one link, and that's a really good use of that campaign field. So when you're talking to your peer-to-peer fundraisers, if you can try to give them some guidance that that campaign field is optional, and it should be something that's kind of unique. All right, so we have panelists today, and they are experts in the peer-to-peer fundraising arena. We have Margaret Nelson from the River Center. We have Lori McIntosh from Our Place. We have Mark McMurphy and Will Chambers from White Birch Center. And in all fairness, White Birch Center's peer-to-peer fundraiser, we did talk about it. So they got some tips on how to set that up. But they're awesome. And we are going to be starting with Margaret Nelson, who has been with New Hampshire Gives since the very beginning. And she is also an award winner. I just want to give some kudos to Margaret. She is getting a Nonprofit Impact Award at our Impact Award celebration tonight in Concord. And if you are not registered and you want to attend and honor Margaret, it's still available on our website, nhnonprofits.org. And I'm going to be there, and I look forward to seeing anybody else who's going to be there. So Margaret, on that note, take it away.
Thank you, Deborah. So what we've learned along the way. The River Center, we are a family and community resource center. We're located in Peterborough and we serve the surrounding towns. So we've been involved, as Deborah said, with New Hampshire Gives since 2016, the first year. We set the audacious goal of raising $2,000 that year, and we're so thrilled when we raised $1,900. Last year, we raised almost 26,000 and we were still thrilled. So every organization has different goals, different teams behind them. But what we have learned about New Hampshire Gives in general is that the energy and the excitement are wonderful. It raises the general, I don't know, having board, staff, volunteers, friends of the organization, getting excited about this 24 hours of giving reminds everybody of how wonderful your organization is and why they're involved with you. And it's a great re-energizing piece, I think. So Deborah asked a few questions and said, you know, can you just think about those? So how do we recruit people? For the peer-to-peer, it looks like we've been having peer-to-peer pages since 2017. So, you know, that first year, a few people were daring enough to do it. And then it has built over the years. We have had some years when we had lots of peer-to-peer supporters, but only half of them actually raised any money. So how do we recruit people? Now, the best recruitment tool is to take somebody who had good success with their peer-to-peer page last year and ask them to tell others about it. So for instance, with our board of directors, we choose someone who had a very active peer-to-peer page in 2021, and we'll ask them to talk about that with the rest of the board, why they did it, how they did it, you know, what they learned from doing it. We talk about it with the staff, we talk about it with our volunteers and friends. We ask them particularly to talk about why they did it. That's important for people to know, the why and the results of having done a peer-to-peer page. So I have one of the staff. She has a sister that lives in Texas. I've never met her sister, but every year, Kelly's sister gives on Kelly's peer-to-peer page. And she does that because she wants to support her sister and her sister's work in a meaningful way. She doesn't know me. It is a great opportunity for friends and family to be able to show their support for the individual. We all know that people give to people. They give to organizations because they know people, they know the work people are doing, they care about it. So when we receive a donation from California on New Hampshire Gives, we know that Steve's relatives are giving, and he's a board member. It's a nice way to give people an opportunity to give because of the people they know. What we do for helping people, Sue Whitaker on our staff, she's the staff expert on New Hampshire Gives and peer-to-peer. So Sue will offer one-on-one, she will help you set up your page. This year she has offered that if anybody wants her to do that, she's taking last year's peer-to-peer page and she is sending it to them. They can either tweak that themselves or she will help them do that. That seems to really lower the stress level with people who are like, I don't know how to do this. I don't want to take the time to watch a video on how to do it, etc. So having someone who's willing to do that is very helpful. We also share examples, and I'm going to have Deborah show a few examples when I'm done. And so when we're talking to the board, I will have somebody who did it last year. They will talk about it with the board. They hear enough from me. It's good to have them hear from somebody else. The qualities of a good peer-to-peer fundraiser, they get it. They understand what you're trying to do. They see the value in raising money for your organization. They put some effort into personalizing their page, and they share a lot. They are willing to get it off their page, and they share through emails, they share through social media, whatever method, they talk about it, but they share. And yes, our board was very active. Not all the board wanted to do a peer-to-peer, but a lot of them did. And they saw the value and they wanted to be supportive. I will tell you a story about our first year. We didn't really think about that. But when it was all over, that's the year we raised 1,900. When it was all over, I had a volunteer with our organization say to me, Margaret, I noticed that none of your board showed up on the giving. I mean, this wasn't about peer-to-peer. It was just, who gave. Now that year, we didn't have that many people giving. It was the trial year, but someone noticed that there were no board members who had given through New Hampshire Give because their names show up. So that is something I always remind the board. People are looking and they want to know who's giving. And if they don't see a board member, if they don't see me as executive director listed, they're going to wonder what's wrong with the organization. Why don't people want to give? So little FYI. Last year, one board member didn't want to do a peer-to-peer, but what she did, which I thought was really cute, is she gave to every single peer-to-peer page that the River Center had. She gave a little bit to everybody. So there's different ways to show your support. So Deborah, if you want to share, these are some samples. So Patty is on our board. Can you scroll? Yeah. So Patty did this wonderful personal story of why she feels like the River Center is important. She talks about taking parenting classes when her children were young. She talks about the importance. She's a retired educator. She talks about the importance of supporting families. She does this excellent story of why she is contributing. And that's what she shared with friends and family. Okay, do you want to share another one? So you can see she used a personal picture of herself. She made it very personal so people would know. Kristen Garland, another board member. She took a picture of her family. She's an educator. She talks about why she feels the River Center work is important for families and herself. I see Carol is saying encourage people to not, particularly board members, to not give anonymously. Very true. Kelly, I talked about Kelly and her sister who gives. So Kelly works for the River Center and she talks about how much she loves her job and what she does and how important it is in the lives of the families she works with. And she shares often with folks. And Kelly has done a good job fundraising for us over the years. And let's see, and Mandy is our board chair, and she has been a big fan of peer-to-peer since the very beginning. Mandy embedded in her description one of the videos that we have done about what is the River Center. So she just embedded right in there and said, you can click here if you want to know more about the River Center. She also, one year, what Mandy did was she decided that she was going to tell people that she was raising $500 on her page and she would match up to $500. And so every time someone gave on her page, she would go in and make a match, which she found out was exhausting because a lot of people gave, they were giving $25. She'd go in and do $25. She was haunting her page the whole 24 hours. And so the next year she decided maybe she wouldn't do that because it was just a lot of work. Other people have decided to do matches on their page. Kristen did a match, if we saw on her page that she did a match. And she said, I'm trying to raise 500 and I will match anything up to $200. Thank you, Deborah. So that was how she did that. She wanted to get a little energy on her page, but she wanted to raise more, but she wasn't going to match the whole 500. So those are some different ways, making them personal so that people understand when they get on that page that this is who it is and why they're wanting to give. So that's my story. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm going to unmute now. I'm Lori McIntosh, and I'm the board chair of Our Place. And I'm going to share my screen so that I can do a little slideshow. Let's see, start from the beginning. Okay, away from start. There we go. So talking about Our Place, which is an organization that is, our mission is to create supportive housing for adults with developmental disabilities. And we're raising money to buy property in the Seacoast area so that we can build a house. And we've had some really great success with New Hampshire Gives as it's been our main annual fundraiser. We became a 501c3 in April of 2020. And the next, 2 months later, we raised $45,000 with New Hampshire Gives. So people started to sort of identify Our Place with New Hampshire Gives as that's how they do their fundraising. So the next year, we were able to raise over $65,000 with New Hampshire Gives. So it's been an amazing thing for us. I'm going to talk about peer-to-peer fundraising, but Deborah also said I should talk about some of the other things that we've done for the process, and preparation is the key. And we start right after Christmas working on New Hampshire Gives. And the first thing we do is create a postcard that we can send out to all of our donors 2 weeks before New Hampshire Gives. And the postcard has a reminder, what the date is, and different ways you can give. Click on this, click on that. And that way people can post it on their refrigerators. And we had a lot of people who said that the postcard really helped them. So we think that's a pretty good idea. We spent some time asking corporate sponsors for matching funds. And we also looked at our donors to see who might be somebody who would not be sitting by their computer that day, who might rather give a check. There's some people who are, in the higher age groups who would rather send a check, and you can say, you could send a check and it could be matching funds. And that way you've gotten them to be included in New Hampshire Gives in a way that they're comfortable with. We also try to get our peer-to-peer partners going as early as possible because the time kind of sneaks up on you. And I, at one point, made a video. I don't think I did it last year, but the year before, I made a video of how to set up the peer-to-peer pages. But now my peer-to-peer people seem to really know what they're doing. And I understand there's a video on the website too, so that's helpful. So what to post, we decided, the most important thing for Our Place is that people hear these compelling stories of parents who are getting too old to take care of their children who are now adults with developmental disabilities, and also to hear from the adults with developmental disabilities themselves. So we have videos and we have stories about how important this project is for this area. And I think that the compelling stories is the most important thing. We have learned to keep our videos kind of short. I try to give people a due date so they can get their peer-to-peer fundraising pages done on time. And I am available for technical assistance if somebody needs that kind of help. So in answer to some of the questions about peer-to-peer fundraising, we didn't really, well, we sort of recruited the board members. Most of our board have adult children with developmental disabilities, so they were just natural people to provide these stories. And we also had some other people who were not on the board but were active in our supporter circle, and they also did some peer-to-peer fundraising pages. I talked about, we did a video and helped people. Yeah, and the board was engaged because most of the board members did a peer-to-peer page. We did a lot of creating ahead of time so that during New Hampshire Gives, we'd have these posts ready to go. We'd have the fill in the blank, you know, we've made this much progress, help us raise, you know, meet this goal in the next hour. So we had posts ready to go that we would just sort of fill in the blank of how much money we'd been raising. So during the day, we have that excitement going and people are on Facebook and Instagram and learning about how we're raising this money. And I swear the more money we made, the more people got excited and gave more money. It was pretty cool. We had to make sure we put clickable links in our posts, and we had a New Hampshire Gives button on our website. So when people went right to our website, they could click a button and be taken right to our page. And I sent out an email blast a week or so before New Hampshire Gives to explain New Hampshire Gives, because last year we had all those matching funds, hours, and things that people needed to understand. So we had a whole explanation of it in this. This is just part of the newsletter. It was a full page newsletter that went out to people to explain New Hampshire Gives. And then we did our social media theme, which was the New Hampshire Gives Our Place Stacking Challenge. And it's only a minute or so long, so I'll play it. So we had everybody stacking things. It was like the ice bucket challenge. So instead of doing the ice bucket challenge, we had people stacking things that said, "Give to New Hampshire Gives." So this is what it looked like.
Hi, I'm Alex McIntosh, and now I'm going to do the Our Place Stacking Challenge with apples. So, help us build our place donate with New Hampshire Gives. June 8th and 9th. Wait. I can get it to stay up. I can. Just say thank you. Or not. Thank you very much for donating to our place.
Okay, so that was Alex doing the stacking challenge, and we had so different future tenants of our place. They were stacking pillows and stacking glasses and stacking cans and all kinds of stacking things, so that people on Facebook and Instagram would start to expect, oh, here's another stacking video. So we're still working out our theme for this year, but that's what we did last year. So right before New Hampshire Gives, we had the board members go nuts, emailing their friends, getting people excited, asking them to, oh, that's during New Hampshire Gives. Before did I just skip a page? Before New Hampshire Gives. So we got those people to share their email. So just getting this whole chain of email sharing and social media sharing. And we had to remember to activate the New Hampshire Gives button on our website. I didn't want to activate it before New Hampshire Gives because I didn't want people donating before, but I almost forgot to activate my button at the beginning of New Hampshire Gives. They like the first hour went by and it wasn't activated, so I was freaking out. But anyway, make sure you do that. So during New Hampshire Gives, the board was very, very busy sending texts and emails and thanking people. And if it's somebody you know, a friend that you have their phone number and you can text them, that was so important. And then we continued to post every couple of hours on social media. After New Hampshire Gives, like the next day, write down everything you learned, because it's really easy to say, oh, phew, that's over, and walk away from it. And then, next year you're going, oh, well, how did that work out? Was that a good thing or a bad thing? So we tried to all write down our takeaways from New Hampshire Gives like the day after. And then we made sure that we sent handwritten, well, we had, printed letters, thank you letters, but we did a handwritten thank you on each one, with a special note if it was somebody you knew. And we also asked new donors how they heard about us so that we'd have a better sense. And a lot of it was through those emails that went out to everybody. And you just have to say, please share these emails with all your friends. And that, just multiplies the number of people. So that's basically it from our place. So I will stop sharing. And next is Mark and Will from the White Birch Center.
Well, we'll get Will to start off with a lot of the technical things. I'll just say that White Birch is a childcare and school-age programming and senior programming agency in Henniker. I'm the executive director. Will is our development manager in charge of all the fun projects. And New Hampshire Gives is one that I'm really grateful that he's involved with, because if you don't like technology, have a 25-year-old do it. And Will is way beyond where I am or could be. So I'll let him start off with some of his input.
Thanks for that introduction, Mark. I appreciate it. So a few things, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Margaret touched on this as well. But how do we recruit fundraisers? A specific real important aspect is just getting people that are emotionally involved and understand your mission as an organization, as well as the final objective of NH Gives and your end goal. People that care about your organization and your end result, as well as your mission, they have less of a problem going out and advocating for you and collecting donations on your behalf. So having individuals, whether it be staff members, admin, friends and family, people that care about your mission, I think are great peer-to-peer fundraisers and great candidates for that. Also, individuals in your community, I think, are great. As a development manager and as a nonprofit, our main, or one of our objectives, is to involve ourselves in the community in a high level, whether that be establishing relationships with local businesses, local community members, just making sure we have a repertoire there that we can connect with people. So if you have a strong relationship there, you can build off that and ask if they want to support your organization. And if you don't have a strong relationship with them, that's also okay. You can start and initiate one. And even if they don't want to give, you now have potentially started maybe a business relationship moving forward with like a different fundraiser, a potential sponsor. And even if not that, it's now on their radar for next year. So next year you can touch base again, and maybe they're going to be more proactive for you and your organization. And also board members as well, they're obviously invested as a board member. So calling upon them, and as a board member too, they should have social connections and have some sort of established understanding of business and the community around them. So using their contacts and their connections could be very helpful. When it comes to providing specific tools to make sure that White Birch or your organization is a success, I think doing all the legwork yourself can be really helpful. So what can that mean is creating email templates and text templates. So basically all that they have to do is fill in the blank I am XYZ, a board member, staff member, family, friend, and you have all the primary content already figured out yourself. So all they have to do is click send. Also, help them understand technology at a more higher degree through, it could be tricky, maybe creating a distribution list for emails, implementing a NHGives graphic in your email signature, showing and giving them step-by-step processes of how to complete that is really helpful too. And also just knowing that you are a resource for them. So really communicating that at a high level, that you're available rain or shine, night or day, to help walk them through the process. It takes a lot of pressure off anyone who's new to this and trying to get involved, and lets them focus less on the process of how to set it up and more on actually collecting donations. So I think that can be really helpful as well. Yeah, basically our board has been, it's been a challenge getting them involved. We'd like them to be more proactive than they have been. I think personally that's because of the age gap, and that this is a primarily 100% online fundraiser and utilizes social media more than any other aspect to create awareness and collect donors. So that can be daunting for a lot of individuals who don't even have a Facebook page. So trying to bridge that gap has been tough. But that's something we're working on, and just trying to give them the most support and help that they can. So hopefully that they can get on board. But yeah, that's what I have. Does Mark have anything to say?
Yeah, so just to add a couple of things. It's important that you remember that the New Hampshire Gives is one of, for most of you, one of many different fundraising and development tools. So we try to plan our development tools on an annual basis. So we have an annual appeal that goes out late November, early December. We have a spring party, which is a fundraiser. We have this in June. We have a golf thing in September. We try to spread it out throughout the year, and we recognize that each event is unique. So if we have a number of people that we're doing a mailing to in November, we're trying not to hit people up multiple times. And it's the same thing with the board. We work with the board on a regular basis at the beginning of the year to say, what is it that you're into and what do you want to contribute to? So that they can kind of pick and choose amongst the different things, and they don't feel like they're, tied into one specific thing. Will and I spent a lot of time talking about that generational difference between board members who tend to be older and, for example, our parents. At a child care center, we've had to switch all of our software over so that all of our billing and communication goes directly to cell phones. That's how young people live, work, and think. Whereas somebody who's older, like Will said, they may not have Facebook, but they also don't really understand what peer-to-peer means. The older generation is a B2B generation, business-to-business generation. Peer-to-peer to a 25-year-old, and I have 3 children that are close to 25 years old, GoFundMe, Venmo, this is their whole world. Everything is instant, quick, $5 here, $10 there. That's how they live. And trying to explain that to somebody who might be a board member who's a little bit older, you just have to take into consideration the fact that, technology for them, it's not that older people, because we also deal with a lot of seniors here at White Birch, it's not that they can't understand technology, it just doesn't make their lives any better. Investing a lot of time in technology doesn't make them any happier. So you kind of have to understand what you're dealing with when you're talking to board members or older folks who are going to be participating in New Hampshire Gives, whereas younger people, they get it right off the bat. The other thing that I find is people in general that are hard to get to do New Hampshire Gives, they're either uncomfortable emailing their friends, okay, which tells me that they're not invested like they should be in White Birch. What it means is if you're really invested and you really believe in it, you don't ask your friends the morning of New Hampshire Gives, will you give money to this? you let them know that you're on the board or that you support this charity. Most of us support charities of all different types, and we just don't realize it. So maybe it's your kids or grandchild's soccer program or whatever. You're already giving to charity, but how are people going to give to this charity if they don't know about it? You have to explain that to the folks to say, you do need to send an email out ahead of time. You do need to let people know what's going on. And I think that's a critical thing. Another thing is, I personally, I email all my friends, all my college friends. I say, I'm going to do this once a year, you guys. In June, I'm going to email you. It'll have these links. Look for it, expect it. You all know what I do. You all know that I'm an executive director of a nonprofit, and I really appreciate your support. And if you don't want to contribute, that's fine, but just know that this is coming. I also put a little tagline in there. I know that you're involved with nonprofits as well, and I know that you have things that you support, and you should not be afraid to email me when you want support for your organization. And I have found that I've semi-adopted nonprofits around the country because my friends are involved with them, and they give to mine, I give to theirs, and our benefactor here, they do the same thing with their families. Each family member has a different charity they give to each other's. That's a community, and that is something that you can promote using New Hampshire Gives. The only other thing that I'll say is it's really a challenge, I think, to get across to some people and some board members. It's a multi-year thing. If you don't have a lot of success your first year, that doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you've got some building blocks and now you can build some more. But if you do this over a period of several years, like we've been doing here at White Birch, and my friends in particular, they know that this email is coming. They're ready for it. They're looking forward to it. They're looking forward to hearing from me, and they're looking forward to sending me their email for their charity. It takes years to get there. So investing that time will have returns. Just be patient and adjust your expectations accordingly, and it'll pay off over time.
I think one more thing too is that
Yeah.
every other organization, they have their own specific roadblock to them. For us, it's board participation. For anyone else, it could be something else. Identifying what that roadblock is and then making specific, unique steps towards finding a solution could be really helpful. So like for us, creating a GiveGab page for board members was really challenging, and a lot of them expressed that they weren't going to do that. So we made one universal board page, and that seemed to be they responded better to that. So just doing something like that, I think, could be helpful.
I'm going to just finish with this because I think this is so funny. I have such a unique job, and I love it because I deal with children who are 9 months old, and I deal with seniors who are 90 years old. And one of the things that's really funny when you talk to someone who's older is they don't realize how successful these online and these networking opportunities are. So you have to really take the extra time to say, these things really do work. And there really is a benefit. I even have a Venmo account now. There really is a benefit to having these things at your disposal. And then to the younger people who are in their 20s, you have to do just the opposite. You have to explain to them, nothing actually goes viral. It's all a marketing plan. It took a lot of work behind the scenes, and there is no magic to it. You have to send those emails out. The Ice Bucket Challenge was a complete marketing genius effort, but it wasn't the viral event that everybody thinks it was. And it's just funny. You just got to tailor what you're doing to the different groups that you're dealing with to get the most out of them.
Thank you,
And
Mark.
that's it for us, Deborah.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks to all of the panelists. I will tell you that I have been doing these trainings since 2016, and I learn something from you guys every single time. There's always something that I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. Wow, I never thought of that. So I hope that everybody else gets those moments here. And Mark, you just talking about community and how you use that gave me chills. Like that's what New Hampshire Gives is about. It's bringing the community together. So when people talk about New Hampshire Gives as a competition, I don't think that's what it really is. I think it's more of a bringing together, and there are some prizes to make it fun and things like that, but it's really about sharing. Kelly, have you been monitoring the questions?
Yes, I have. It looks like Jean has a hand raised. Do you still have a question, Jean, or was your question answered? You're just going to want to go ahead and unmute, Jean, sorry. I'm sorry, Jean, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if your audio is turned down.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some interference.
Okay. Sorry about that, Jean. Perhaps just type your question into the chat, and we can try doing it that way. There was a question here about board participation, and I think you know, particularly Deborah, around the board participation prize. It is correct that that minimum donation is $20 per board member, right, Deborah?
Yes.
So there's a question about if the board is making commitments in advance to create a match. Do those, I believe, if I'm understanding this question correctly, do those count towards that board participation prize?
I guess there will be a form where you can submit proof of your board donation. So there you go. If you submitted proof that your board donated towards a match, and that all board members participated, then I think that would be considered valid.
Okay. I think that kind of gets at the answer to this question too. Our board is putting up a matching fund grant, so they won't show up as contributors directly on our New Hampshire Gives page. That's right. Would you suggest we just put this info somewhere on our page? So it sounds like what you're going to want to do there is create a match.
Yeah, and I think this might be going back to what Margaret was saying about people want to see that the board has donated. So I think if you're putting up a matching donation that says, you know, this is matching donation made possible by our board of directors, then I think most people will consider that. Obviously, they've participated, they're engaged in this project with you. So I think that's when that question came in.
Can I add something here, Deborah?
Absolutely.
I would sit down with that board member that doesn't want to go online, and you know, I would go online with them and do it, because they need to understand that there's different ways to fundraise. You can have a party, you can have a golf tournament, you can do an annual appeal. This is an online event, and this is where the world is going. And you need to build this over time. And I certainly understand people may or may not be comfortable. Almost everybody I know has bought something online. I certainly have no issues with the security of the credit cards and stuff with New Hampshire Gives. But that's where you got to recognize, in my opinion, with that particular board member, they don't understand the big picture yet. You need to go online. People need to see that name there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how this stuff works. And I would sit down with them personally and do it with them.
The other thing to remember is that you can donate as little as $5, and you can make the amount hidden. So you can have your board members all go on and make a small donation with the amount hidden, but their names will show up on the list of your donors. So that's another way to handle that. If they're doing a larger gift for a match, they could also do something small like that.
I just wanted to point out that if you go to the trainings page, and I just put that link in the chat, and scroll to the bottom of that page to the section that's labeled Giving Day Training Videos, there is a great section of videos there specifically about peer-to-peer fundraising, how to edit and view a profile, how to invite a supporter, how to remove a fundraiser. So if you have technical questions about how peer-to-peer fundraising operates on the site, or if your fundraisers have technical questions that you're not sure how to answer, those videos are a great resource for you. Deborah, I think I know the answer to this, but can a minor create a P2P campaign?
There are no rules against it. I think that's up to their parents. No money goes through them. There's nothing that I think could be dangerous there. So yeah, there's no
Would they just need to have an email address in order
Yep.
to create their own page?
Yep, they would need to have an email address.
Fantastic. So if there are other questions for us or for any of our panelists, you can raise your hand or just type those into the chat. We just have a couple more minutes here. Deborah, I wonder if you could clarify, there was a question earlier. I wonder if you could clarify what you said at the beginning about naming campaigns.
Yeah, I think I can be very confusing, and I apologize for that. There are two fields when you're creating a peer-to-peer profile. One is your name, and the other one is a campaign name. So all you really need if you're doing just an individual campaign is your name. But if you wanted to give it a name, you can use the campaign field. So if an employer said, hey, we're all going to get together and raise funds for our shop, you could name it for the shop, and then all of the people at the shop could use the same link so that people don't have to create individual profiles. So that's kind of what it was designed for, so that you could have groups of people and not have it just say one person's name. So
great. Thank you for that clarification. I see Scott has his hand raised. Scott, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Thank you. I'm totally new to this, although my organization, the Transitional Shelter here in Peterborough, has done this for the past few years, and we're struggling navigating the GiveGab website. But I have the basic question, because I have not participated in this in the past. When someone gives on a peer-to-peer page, does it get funneled and show up as a donor in the regular New Hampshire Gives page?
yes, it all comes into yours.
And then the second question I had is, I noticed in some of the examples that were shared on the web, the screen share, it looked like individuals set their own goals. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Do they have to do
individual
that?
can set a goal.
Do they have to do that?
I think it's optional,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Scott.
asking those questions.
And Deborah, if the a peer-to-peer fundraiser's individual goal has no correlation to the goal set by an organization that appears on their profile page, is that correct?
Correct. Just they're not related.
Okay. There's a question in the chat from Carol looking for ideas for convincing donors or educating them on assuming online fees, covering the fees. I could just start to answer that question. I think that it's more, potentially more of a year-round education piece. Not all donors understand that even when they make an online donation on your website, you have some fee that is deducted from that. I think, depending on what platform you're using, it might be 2.2% plus maybe a 30-cent transaction fee. I think that's what it is for PayPal. So I think that, that is an opportunity to educate donors year round that, all credit card transactions have those fees attached to them. This is not, this is not a unique situation. We do also have the addition of the GiveGab platform fee, which there's a great response in the FAQs about that fee. This is obviously, there's a large piece of infrastructure here to support this day, and there's a cost associated with that, and a whole team of people, and many, staff hours on the GiveGab side, which that supports. So I think I don't know, there's definitely an education piece there to be had. Deborah, I also see Mark, do you want to weigh in?
Well, I just, what I tell people is we can either buy this software and own it, in which case your $200 donation just went to buying the software. Or what I can do is I can have somebody write down your credit card number, and we'll just keep it on somebody's desk who you have no idea who that is, or we can have this secure network. And the secure network is what you're paying for. And so that we don't have to buy the software. It's a pretty reasonable fee when all is said and done.
I love you, Mark. The other thing that I've seen talked about is that every donation does have a cost, whether they write a check or give online. When they write a check, you have somebody who has to open the envelope, somebody who has to record it, somebody who has to go to the bank. So every donation that you give, there's something that we lose out of it when we're processing it. So just kind of bringing that into perspective is often helpful.
Thank you both. Emily's just asking about the drawing for today's webinar. That's not for today's webinar. There is a Training Titan Golden Ticket Prize, which will be drawn from all organizations that had a representative attend any of our training webinars, any of the 4 training webinars that we've had. And I believe that will be drawn during New Hampshire Gives. Is that right, Deborah?
Yes, it will be announced live on the live stream.
Great, thank you. Any last questions here before we sign off? Just a reminder, Deborah mentioned at the top of our session that we do have a couple New Hampshire Gives coffee hours coming up, which are a great forum for getting things answered, getting some of that peer learning in, and we can certainly help. And those special guest speakers have been great in the past. And again, I always like to plug the nonprofit toolkit on the website. Just such a wealth of information and resources there.
I would plug one more thing, Kelly. We reached out to some of our veteran New Hampshire Gives people this year and asked them to do brief videos on different topics of strategy around New Hampshire Gives. And those are on that training page that Kelly put the link into the chat. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see familiar faces like Rick Menard, whose face is on here right now. And they're just really quick videos, but they're local people who've done New Hampshire Gives, who know the environment, and they give you some of the top tips and tricks that they've used for things like setting goals, doing communications, doing peer-to-peer, doing matches. Wait, I don't know if there's one on matches, but so they're just really a great resource from some really great people who just gave their time to do that. So I encourage you to check them out.
All right, looks like we'll just take this last question here from Carol and then wish everyone a good day. Carol's asking when we'll know about the amount of pool of money for the bonus pool, and are there designated pools for regions?
God, I wish I knew. I'm sorry, Carol. It's not within our control. It's, the Charitable Foundation works very hard to pull these funds together. And so they like to make sure that they have a final total before they release that information. So they have been able to say it's going to be not less than $100,000. But hopefully within the next last year we announced in early May. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to give you guys some more information. And as for designated pools, it's also, it'll depend on what their donors have designated. So we will find out. You'll know as soon as I know, I promise.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for your time today.